Hi, and welcome to AP Daily. My name is Greg Hill, and I teach at Dr. John D. Horn High School in Mesquite, Texas. Today we're going to open up topic 3.3, Cultural Patterns. This video will examine how regional patterns of language, religion, and ethnicity contribute to a sense of place, enhance placemaking, and shape the global cultural landscape. What will we learn? First, we'll see that place is a location's physical and cultural characteristics. I often like to use the question in my class, what is it like when you get there? Think about when you go to your best friend's or your Aunt Susie's house or your Aunt Crystal's house for dinner. What is it like when you get there? When you go on vacation, what is the first thing you take in? You take in the physicality of it. You have dinner or you'll have lunch and you'll maybe have some local food. You're figuring out that is all a part of that is all a part of place. Placemaking is also important. This is a process in which a community or a culture group gets together and plan out their public space. Language can influence things such as toponyms or place names, and also forms of communication. Ethnicity can influence the goods and services available, the type of architecture where people live, dialects within a language, and also create ethnic enclaves. Ethnic enclaves are areas which tend to congregate with one particular ethnic group. You can see evidences in shops and businesses and other services or even schools that are in this area. Religion can also influence toponyms, also influence architecture, as we saw in topic 3.1, and even who can live where. Let's look at an example. Ecuador is one of my favorite countries in the world. Now, it might surprise a lot of people, but I just love the humility of the people. As you can see on this map, there's evidence of both Quechua, which is the language of the indigenous, and Spanish, the language of the colonizers, in place names such as Guayaquil, Cuenca, Santo Domingo de los Colorados. You can see it also in the country's name itself, Ecuador, which stands for equator. Now, I want to share a little story with you, and it's kind of funny for some, maybe not for you. But during my time in Ecuador, we had to learn Quechua. Now, I didn't know that once we got there that all of the instruction would be in Spanish. So you can imagine how difficult it was to first process the words in Spanish, then try to process it in Quechua, and then put it back into my native English. Here with the name of the city of Otavalo in Ecuador, this is a historic name of a local indigenous group. All throughout the city, you see evidence of their cultural traits on the cultural landscape, which Ms. Patel taught in topic 3.2. This is a sign of a bike path or a ciclovia in Spanish. In many parts of the Andes, there's a mixture of indigenous, Afro-Andino, and Spanish influences on the cultural landscape. You can also see it in the names of businesses. Here you see a Quechua name for this restaurant, Ali Alba, which if you're ever in Otavalo, Ecuador, I suggest you go there. They have some of the best steaks in Otavalo. Imbabura is a local volcano. It is also the name of the province which houses the city of Otavalo. Imbabura is a volcano that also has significant spiritual importance for the Otavalan people. Here in the Sutra market in Cusco, Peru, you see the introduction of English along with Spanish and Quechua. What do you think influenced the introduction of English here? Could it be that there are a lot of tourists that come to Cusco from all over the world, especially English-speaking countries? Religion. Mecca, Saudi Arabia is one of my favorite cities to talk about as a great example of this. Mecca is the holiest city of Islam. Here you have pilgrims from all over the world that come over to visit because of its religious significance. You notice in the background the various towers, you'll see the cranes and other things that are showing the modernity that the Saudi government is putting into this city. The Grand Mosque has drawn massive development, as you can see here, but it still reigns as one of the most important parts on the cultural landscape. Here in Tallinn, Estonia, you have the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral. It is an Eastern Orthodox church which shows the Russian influence on the former Soviet Republic. In Berlin, Germany, I was able to visit the Kreuzberg section of Berlin. It is home to one of the largest Turkish populations in the world. Turks in Germany often express themselves, especially during Turkish holidays and during major events in Turkey proper. Businesses are adorned in Turkish or with Turkish references, as you see here, the Istanbul supermarket, which specializes in delicacies and products direct from Turkey. Also, in many parts of Kreuzberg, you'll see a duality of German and also Turkish names. Here is a mosque, which is embedded in the community. There are also several restaurants and cafes, and I was lucky enough to partake and try Turkish food. The owners there were third-generation Turks that had come over post-World War II to work in many of the factories and decided to stay and have generation after generation. They were some of the most hospitable people I had ever met. What should we take away? Regional patterns of cultural elements like language, religion, and ethnicity contribute to place and placemaking. I'd like to give a special shout out to point 30, cultural patterns. In this video, we'll examine how language, religion, and ethnicity are factors in creating centripetal and centrifugal forces. What will we learn? First, centripetal forces are things that unite a group of people. It could be a common language, it could be a strong sense of nationalism, it could be pride in a national or Olympic team, or as Mr. Kevin said, one of his favorite soccer teams. It could be ethnic, religious homogeneity. All of these contribute to bringing people together. Centrifugal forces. These are things that break people apart or divide a group of people. This could be ethnic discrimination, political unrest, or political division. This could be human rights issues or economic inequality. Let's look at an example. For centripetal, think of the Kurds. First, they are a group that have ethnic homogeneity. They also have a religious homogeneity in practicing their own form of Islam. They have their own unique flag, and they have a strong desire to carve out their own homeland that they'd like to call Kurdistan. The Koreas. Now for me, I see the Koreas as both a centripetal and a centrifugal force example. As far as centripetal, at the island of Dokdo, which is just off the coast of South Korea. Both North and South Korea hold that this should belong to South Korea, whereas Japan believes it should belong to them. Also, in terms of the naming of the Sea of Japan, both Koreas agreed that it should be the East Sea. Another thing that brings them sort of together is their disdain for the history of Japanese aggression during World War II. Lastly, ethnic homogeneity. There is a belief by many Koreans of the purity of Korean blood. Centrifugal forces. Now, post-Korean War, both North and South Korea were divided on which form of government that they wanted to partake in. This has led to serious contentions between both parties. Religious freedom is enjoyed in the South, but is not enjoyed as much in the North. The Republic of Korea, aka South Korea, and its alliance with the United States has been a sore spot for North Korea. The DPRK, or the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, aka North Korea, and its alliance with the Communist bloc has been a thorn in the side for many of the allies of South Korea. Another centrifugal example is Kashmir. It is an area occupied by the country of India. Here you see Muslim citizens clashing with Indian police. Let's practice. Which of the following does not act as a centrifugal force for a state? If you need to pause it and think about it, take this time to do so. The answer choice is C, linguistic homogeneity. What that means is a group of people speak the same language. What should we take away? Or as I like to say, what's the gist? Cultural elements such as language, ethnicity, and religion are factors that create centripetal forces, or things that bring people together, and centrifugal forces, or things that divide a group of people.